We live in a world where we are told over and over again that faster is better. And in some situations, that may be true. People want to get their beverages faster, their coffee faster in the morning, and a bunch of other different things. But when it comes to theology, when it comes to thinking deeply about the deep matters that really matter, slow is often the best way to be. I've been reading a book over the past little bit called Slow Theology. And this book has been really helpful to me. It's right here, and it's written by A.J. Suabota and Najee K. Gupta. And this relatively short book has some really great concepts about what it means to take our time and to be intentional and maybe even deliberate about how we go about doing theology. You see, too often in a world that's filled with sound bites and quick tweets and updates on social media, when everything comes at us so quick, we can feel like we need to respond quickly. And that can be our responses politically or economically, socially, but it can also be our theological responses. We've seen this recently as different pictures or ideas get thrown around, and everybody feels like they have to throw their theological viewpoint out into the world immediately. But what if we took time to do theology well instead of just trying to do it fast? And there's a couple things that this book really highlights that have been really helpful for me. The first thing is that slow is inherent in doing good theology. Good theology doesn't happen in an instant. It takes time. In fact, the authors say that heresy, it turns out, is often theology that's in a really big hurry. That heresy is what happens when we take theology and we just try to expedite it. But good, solid theology takes time. It's slow in nature. It has to develop over time. And it is proven to be true because of that length of time that it takes to develop. The second thing is this, that we need to do theology in pencil. And this is hard in a world where everything we post and say lives online forever. But they say that our work of faith in Christ should always be written in ink. It's our theology that should be done in pencil. In other words, the big ideas about who Jesus is and what he's done, those are written in ink. They don't change. But theology is our attempts to understand what God is doing and how he works and who he is. And we never get our minds fully around that. And so we always should be writing in pencil, because there always may be the need to erase something or realize that God is bigger than that, or more expansive than that, or more loving than that. We need to do our theology in pencil. The third thing that I've come away with is that theology requires humility. Too often, theologians speak from a place of arrogance instead of humility. We need to hold our theology with our hands open as an offering back to God, and humbly realize that no matter how good of a theologian we are, eventually we're going to find ourselves before the throne of Christ, and there's something in it that we will have not gotten fully correct. We need to be humble theologians instead of arrogantly just assuming that we understand it best and we have the only right ideas. The fourth thing that I've come away from that's been really helpful is that our theology must work for the slowest in the church. The authors say that the slowest person in any church is always the one who exposes the theology of that church. If our theology doesn't work for those that maybe don't have a mental ability to understand deep thoughts, or have disabilities, or have other things that are there, then our theology is probably missing something in the end. That it needs to work not just for the fast thinkers, the fast doers, but also for the slowest among us, because these are the people that Jesus hung out with and spent his time with predominantly. And then finally, the last piece, which is something that I've been really dwelling on, is that he talks about abiding, using John chapter 15, being people who abide in Christ. Abiding takes time. That to be a true Christian is something that means we abide in Christ over the long haul. And that is often slow work. It's the slow work of giving our all over to Christ over the course of an entire life. Yes, are there moments that seem to speed that up or expedite that? These crisis kind of moments, these powerful, yes, sure. But it really is the long haul in the end of taking the time to grow and abide with Christ over time. And that as we do that, we are shaped and we are formed in our thinking and in our doing so that we actually then express that in our lived or practical theology. It's a really short book. It talks about 8 practices for a resilient faith in a turbulent world, but grab it. It's a great book. Hope it's been helpful for you.